Welcome back to part 2 of Lone Star Gymnastics Essentials for new instructors, old instructors, new employees, whatever it may be, but part 2 we'll be talking about class management. So in this presentation, we're going to be talking about preparing for class, basic class formats, teaching to the progressions, dealing with problems in class, and after class necessities. Preparing for class. As covered in part 1, employees are expected to show up with enough time to prepare for their class. As a reminder, this means that you show up dressed, hair and makeup done, and be mentally and emotionally prepared to do your job. Walking in right before class and not being ready or knowing what's going on is going to lead to a lot of problems. So the first thing you need to do is be physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared for your class. We all have bad days, which affect our mood, and it's our job to push that aside and provide the clients with a positive experience. I told you in part 1, we're going to be rolling everything back to that statement, having a positive experience. With that being said, our managers and employees are here for you and care about you and have tools and resources to help support you. So if you need support from us, please let us know. We would be glad to offer any assistance that we possibly can to help you out. Preparing for class. So once you arrive for the day, you will need to make sure to find your general manager, in this case it's Donna, and ask about what's going on for the day. It may not always be Donna. Donna may be out for a competition or just out for a personal day. So if she's not there, then you need to make sure to find out whoever is in charge. From her, you will receive your schedule with your assigned classes for the day and informed of any potential problems. Also, you may be given some tasks to do prior to your shift or after your coaching shift. Established employees will often know their schedule by heart, but they still need to make sure that there isn't any last minute changes. The more established employees will be the ones that get pivoted and moved over and around a little bit more than the inexperienced staff. Once you know your schedule, you should go and check to make sure your equipment is prepared for your class. Equipment. Preparing the equipment can be difficult for some events. Many events have multiple groups going through them, and they might need different matting or setting. This is where communicating with your fellow instructors and the team coaches kicks in. We often steal matting from events when no one's using them. This often means that a class rotates and often needs to snag a different mat. This can be frustrating and is something that everyone must be aware of and work together on. Therefore, you need to ask questions before pulling a mat from an event. Being on time gives you the opportunity to ask these questions and let other staff know what your intentions are for the day. So, show up early, talk to everybody. Hey, I'm doing this today. I'd like to do this week. Sometimes this week or this month, we're going to have these mats set up, particularly at this event, because we want our staff to be focused on this. And team coaches and class coaches need to make sure they're communicating with each other. Basic class formats. Lone Star Gymnastics runs a 1 hour class in 15-minute rotations. Additionally, we've set the last 5 minutes of class for parent communication and class preparation. We'll talk a little bit more on that last 5 towards the end. Basic class formats. The dangers of not being prepared for class are as follows. So on one rotation, so a 15-minute event time breakdown, 5 minutes setting up the equipment, 5 minutes explaining what they're doing, and then 5 minutes doing the event. So all in all, in that one rotation, bar rotation, floor rotation, vault, whatever it is, beam rotation, they only did the gymnastics for 5 minutes. I don't think that's acceptable. Our class kids' parents will be up in arms about this. It's not something that we do. We need to make sure we have a really good amount of time on equipment and that we're prepared for the class in all the right ways. So how much time on the equipment did the student receive? 5 minutes. Would you want your child to be in a class that only got 5 minutes on each rotation? Probably not. So our rotation time goals are as follows. 15-minute event time breakdown. So same deal, one rotation. 60 seconds setting up the equipment. 90 seconds explaining what to do. 12 and a half minutes doing the event. The sense of urgency and energy of the class must be amazing to do this. The instructor must be great to do this. I'm telling you, if you're doing this in your first month of working here, your manager is probably going to give you a raise. They're going to be like, wow, they're really good. They're efficient. This is going to sell. Their classes are going to be full. We need to make sure we're paying this person better. We did a drill as a team of coaches, and we did 60-second equipment setup time. It took them 30 seconds to set it up from nothing. We went and tore apart their equipment. Within 30 seconds, they had it reset, and they did a 90-second explanation, and they did that in under 60 seconds. So they did it all that done was 90 seconds. That's where we're going at. That's the energy of which your class needs to run at, and we need to have that sense of urgency so that the kids bring that energy and we get a lot done. So in order to accomplish this, what must you do? First thing, you have to know the progressions, and you have to be prepared for the class. Second, you must have a good understanding of how to adjust the equipment. And then two, you got to bring the energy. So if any of this is lacking, you don't know what's going on for the day, you're not mentally prepared for your class, you don't understand that little Susie's already learned to round off and needs to be working on back handspring, then that's going to pose problems. If you don't know how to adjust the equipment, if you're going up or equipment's are on wrong setting because the team came over to P-bars and they raised them all up and you need them down and you're not able to pivot and adjust the equipment fast, then that's going to slow you down. And then if you're just being lazy, you're being slow, you're lethargic, you're moving slow, it's just not gonna work. And that in the end will just cause you not to progress as a coach here at Lone Star. So progressions, Lone Star Gymnastics has a set progression system that we've spent a lot of time and money developing. A progression is the process of developing or moving gradually towards a more advanced state. So you start with a forward roll, you go all the way up to the front flip, right? There's a lot of little steps in there that we can add in there. Or backward roll, you go all the way to round up back handspring back tuck. So there's a lot of little steps there, and we want to make sure we're on those paths, so we're not just repeating the same boring steps. So progression in gymnastics keeps students safe while they're learning new skills by preventing them from missing key steps. Missing key steps in building a car or bridge will lead to a devastating effect. We as professionals need to make sure that we're not moving too fast or skipping important steps, which teach important concepts. Got it? So the progressions are there to give you something to do on the way up. They're not there, and they're there to slow you down from going too fast and missing out on key concepts and learning opportunities. So we have a new policy at Lone Star, which basically states that instructors are not allowed to teach something that's not on the progression system without verbal permission from Donna or Brian. So if it's not on the progression, or you don't know the progression and you're doing it, prepare for a little bit of confrontation, and it's not negative confrontation. The families at Lone Star can go on the parent portal and look at the progression, and soon enough they'll be able to see every single one of our steps in video form, and they'll know when they're on it. So you got accountability from the management team, the senior staff, the parents, and the office, all of which are going to help keep you accountable for staying on progression. And if you're following the progression, the kids are going to learn, they're going to have a blast, and you're going to find that it's easy. It's really easy. So on our staff portal, we'll now have access to our progression system. By the end of January, every part of the progression will have a video link where you can watch the skill being performed by the student. So additionally, parents will have access to these skills and will know what they look like. So we have third-party accountability. If you don't know where to look for this, just come find us. Come find the senior staff. We're in the middle of uploading it all. I think end of January is going to be pushing it for getting it all done. But we already have all the preschool done and we're on the way. So if you're not from Lone Star Gymnastics and you go look at our playlist, you'll see all of our preschool progressions. So a lot of this is monkey see, monkey do. You don't need a lot of gymnastics experience when you're looking at some of this basic stuff to understand what to do. As far as like the spotting stuff, that you're going to learn over time, and we have resources for you as well on that. So there's no excuse for not knowing our progression. Consider you can just sit there and watch And within 5 minutes, watch 3 or 4 levels of progression. So, inside of our progression system on iClass, we operate on a 2-star system. 1 star means you've introduced a skill to the student. 2 stars means that the student has mastered that skill. This lets the parent know where they're at. Let's talk a little bit about mastery. So what does mastery mean to us? They can recognize and name that skill. If they can't see that skill, know what it is, know what it's called, they don't have mastery of it. So as you're walking them through these progressions and these new skills, you have to make sure that you are teaching them the names of the skills and the right names for the skills. A lot of skills are universally named. Everybody in the industry and the entire world knows it. If you teach them the wrong one, they go somewhere else, the teacher's going to look at them like they're funny. It happens here. We get kids from other places. They come say, oh, I did the back no hands. What? You did a what? Back handspring. What? Backflip. Okay. All right. We got this. 2 stars, that means they can accomplish that skill by themselves or with a spot on certain skills, right? So it's not just being able to do it once, it's being able to accomplish it consistently and knowing the name of the skill. Progression mastery, our progression system is not punitive. If a child is stuck on the last skill in a level, it may be time to move them on anyway. Speak to your manager about individual cases. We have kids who are naturally talented in some areas, and some areas they're just not very talented at. And we need to make sure that we're not like leaving them there on one step because they can't pass it. Because if we hold them back here and they're not moving up to the intermediate level, they're not given an opportunity to progress it everywhere else. And we do review skills in our progression, and they can come back and review that skill with the instructor. And it may give them a good opportunity to have a little more fun and stick around a little bit longer. Because if we're not moving them on, they're probably not going to stick around very long. All right, so problems in class with students is going to happen. So from our experience, you'll find that the less engaging you are with the students, the more problems that you're going to have. Several problem types that we have are just misbehaving students, injuries, and equipment problems. So let's talk about them. Misbehavior. Kids have off days and they can cause problems between fighting, spitting, cursing, not following directions, and many more problems. We see it all here. So we have a set order of which we want you to execute any form of discipline or correction. So the problems should be dealt with in this order. 1, verbal correction. Little Susie, please stop what you're doing, or we don't use those words here. Second, we do a 60-second timeout. We pull the kid aside. Hey, you're having trouble listening. Sit here for 1 minute, and we're gonna put you back in. Biggest thing is we pull them out. We isolate. We do everything we can so we don't lose the whole class. We pull them aside. 60 seconds. Boom, they're allowed back in. Basically, they're gonna miss like 1 turn if you're moving quick, right? So we're trying not to remove them from class. The second time we have to get on their case, or third time, we're gonna do a 2-minute timeout, right? Not too big a deal. Missed like turn and a half, 2 turns, right? 4th time, we call manager over. Okay, that means it's not getting better. We have 3-strike rule, or on strike 4. Manager comes over. They're going to be the heavy ones. And the whole time you're doing this, you got a smile on your face. You're energetic. You're exciting. You're engaging, and you're just pulling them. Hey, sit here for a second. I need you to reset, and we're going to move on, right? When dealing with a student that misbehaves, remember our goal. We're here to provide each of our clients with a positive experience. Managers are the ones to bring the thunder and deal with issues that may not be so positive. So, and we have a rule. B, C, and D, you are required to talk to their parents at pickup and let them know that there was an issue and what happened. This does a couple things. First thing, it brings the parent into the problem and lets the student know that you're an authority figure. If you're hiding a problem from a parent, they're going to look, oh, he's just another kid, right? Especially if you're young. If you bring it to the parent knows what's going on, they can address it, right? 2, problems are dealt with a smile on the face and with a positive attitude. At no time are we to berate or belittle a student or tear down a student. If it isn't working, then call a team coach or manager over for assistance. They will be the one to deal with the issues so that you can get back to class. You, as the primary instructor, have the priority of making sure that whole class is continuing to run. So, what do you say when you present a problem to a parent? When you present a problem to a parent, it's better to say, "Hey, today in class we had a little problem with Susie. She, said some words that were a little inappropriate. We had to pull her aside a couple times, and we had a little timeout, a 60-second timeout, and then she made the change, and we stayed in class, and from there it wasn't an issue." Or it was, "Hey, we had to pull her out of class. She was still having an issue. We had 2 minutes out, and then she corrected." Or, "I had to pull one of the managers over, and she's going to be over here in a minute to talk to you about what was going on." We do have instances where we have had to remove people from our program for a number of reasons, and it's always the manager's job to handle those difficult conversations. All right, so the next problem we want to deal with is injuries. Sports have injuries, and gymnastics is not an exception. However, we as gymnastics professionals, I feel like we deal with the injuries a whole lot better than most sports. Um, and the main reason I think that is most gymnastics people are employees who only deal with gymnastics, or salaried employees, that's all they deal with, and they just have the training and the time to experience. So the number one thing you need to do in the event of an injury is call a manager over to assess the situation. Once the manager's been called over, you need to continue the class and let the manager deal with the injury. We will address some situational issues later in your training, but the number one thing you need to do is call a manager over, let them handle the situation, and you go back to dealing with your class. Next issue, equipment. Equipment sometimes has issues, and sometimes we can't fix it quickly enough to let you continue to use it for that class. Brian, myself, or another manager can sometimes come over and fix it in 60 seconds. But if we can't fix it in 60 seconds, then you need to pivot and you need to remove it from rotation or go somewhere else until the end of class, right? So the biggest thing is it's just one piece of equipment that's the issue. That doesn't mean the whole class sits there for 15 minutes and watches Coach Brian like hit something with a hammer. You keep the class moving because the kids are only there an hour. They're only on the rotation 15 minutes. If we waste 5 minutes, they don't get gymnastics on that. And that's not fair to them. It's not fair to our clients. So the last 5 minutes of class is dedicated to preparing for your next class and parent communication, with the primary focus on parent communication. So what this means is, dismiss the class 5 minutes early. You're going to go seek out the new parent or a parent that you already know or don't know, and you're going to talk about the kid. We have a rule that you have to talk to every new kid's parent at their first class, right? And the way you can identify that is a wristband. If they have a wristband on, that's their first day in class, right? So the best thing to do is, "Hey, Johnny, it's such a great class. Where's your mom? I want to talk to your mom." And then you go introduce yourself to the parent, and you have some good stuff to say about it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, I think. We'll see. So, talking with parents about how their kids are doing is an important part of your job. Make sure you have something positive and specific to say about each child after class so that when you speak to their parent, you can give a quick update. I don't know why this says update. A simple yet effective statement to a parent could be, "John has a great attitude and was so close to getting his pullover today. I think that we will have it next week." What does this statement really tell the parent? One, it tells them you know their name. That's really important that you know the child's name. Gives them feedback about how their kid was doing. If they had a great attitude, they're probably engaged and they probably like to be there. Three, he's progressing or he's close to progressing, so they have a reason to continue the class. And the next thing is they have something to look forward to, and they can bring back and talk about with their kid. Gymnastics has a lot of weird names, and the parents don't know them. And if they know, "Hey, pullover," he's learning a pullover. They may not know what it is, but they can talk to their kid about it. Um, Lone Star Gymnastics wants every parent and student to know their instructor by name. The first time a student is in class, they should have a wristband on, just like we talked about it. Your first engagement with the parent tells them a lot about you as a person. So we want to make sure you introduce yourself and say, hey, hi, I'm John's instructor. My name is Brian, right? Once again, you know their child and you're taking the time to talk to the parent. Two, ask who they are. Are you John's mom? It may be grandma, it may be stepmom, it may be um, aunt, but you're trying to identify who they are so you know who you're dealing with. And you're trying to learn their name. Inform them about how their child did today. John is really strong and picked up a lot of new skills today. I think he's going to progress quickly and will be hitting the next level soon. Our program's set up so that the first level goes pretty fast. We want the parents to know that they're progressing. Um, so we're giving them a lot of information, we're giving them a lot of feedback, and we're being short and succinct so that we have the ability to talk to other people and we don't get trapped. Um, Four, we're going to say goodbye to mom and the kid. John, it was really good to have you in class today. I'm excited to see you next week. Mom, it was nice to meet you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Um, so all of this is really short, really fast. We can do it in 30 seconds or a minute. It's kind of a drive-by, but at the same time, we're making sure we're being fast. So if we have anybody else to talk to or we need a drink of water, we have that time. The goal is to talk to at least one parent in the last 5 minutes of class. You must keep the conversation short because you have another class to prepare for and start. So don't get caught up in a long conversation and neglect the next group of students. However, work to build a relationship with the parents through consistent short conversations and make sure to hype the kids up each week. Engage the parents, engage the kids after class, make sure you're being social with them, and it will. The last 5 minutes is not an excuse to run and hide. It's a tool that we use to help turn over classes, retain students, and gives you the opportunity to grab a drink and use the bathroom. It's something we added a while back. It pays off um, with our clients, and as we say, use it wisely or lose it. Um, anyway, that's the end of part two. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. The goal was to keep these short, and unfortunately, 22 minutes is short, I think, on this. We have so much more we can talk about. Have a great day, guys.